Good to see you, my friend.
Same.
And your lovely Vegas. Do you get to do anything fun here?
No. My girlfriend's actually she was a little upset last night because I had to grab something I grabbed Chick-fil-A because I didn't have a lot of time because I was doing my own podcast for my own YouTube channel.
Okay.
And she was like, oh, I wanted you to come out and eat dinner with us. And I was just like, well, the time that we would have got back, it would have been very late, so nobody would have had energy to actually do the interview. And
tell me about your podcast.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's been fun. At first it was kind of really relaxed. I was just doing it on Twitter Spaces, so we would go on Twitter. I would announce it maybe like a day before, and I would call it sprint talk because most interviews and podcasts and track and field are just based off of distance running. And I'm just like, there's no sprinters, talking about their experiences and their stories, and they're just as interesting as anybody else. So I'm like, why is nobody doing this? So I was just like, well, I like to interview people from time to time, so let's do that. Eventually, now that I've started my YouTube channel, I have a space to put it, on a video format. So I'm just like, okay, we're coming to Vegas, and we got a lot of great athletes here. Let's start putting them together and just get a bunch of videos so we can just roll them out throughout the year. And it's funny, last night I gathered people who I thought were going to be more like, oh, let's have a conversation about like fashion, cars, the inner workings of the cool parts of track. And yeah, we had started with that, but we ended up going to talk about parents, when they enter track, what we could and couldn't wear when we were younger in sports, confidence, trailblazers. Like it was very interesting how it went, because I kind of let everybody just go on the journey that they want, because I feel the best conversations happen that way.
Yeah, when I do an interview with you, and I was with your brother yesterday, as I was telling Josephus, that it's very organic. I never prepare questions for you guys because I don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah.
And I got to a point after about 20 years of interviews that I would have all these prepared questions. And I just got to the point where I said, well, the most fun is kind of seeing where the journey goes, because sometimes we'll go down a rabbit hole here, a rabbit hole there. You're at a place right now where you are developing your social media presence, but it relies on you being a great athlete and delivering, And how do you, this is one subject we really haven't played with, how do you coexist as an elite athlete and an entertainer?
Yeah,
because you are both. I was looking at the pictures from the U.S. indoors, right?
Yeah.
And then my favorites are from the New Balance meet, because Kevin got some great pictures of you there, and I put them up on social media, and people absolutely love them. And then the Gucci stuff, people have been totally digging, which was it's that whole idea of showing that you have a fashion presence. So how do they coexist, or do they coexist, or you just kind of go with the flow?
Yeah, first of all, I think it's just me as who I am.
Yeah.
First and foremost. So if you don't want to do it, it's not fun. It's just another job, it's a chore. Because I have plenty of friends who are like, yeah, I'm just not into it. And they don't, it's okay where they are. It's like, I just like knowing that my family knows that they're seeing me, and my friends get to see me, and whoever wants to tag along, that's cool. But I'm not going to go out and get that. Cool, I understand that, because if you're forced to do it, it's not going to be fun. But for me, it's fun. It's enjoyable to create moments and people be involved with these moments. I just got done with a whole conversation with NBC, and they were asking me, how can we help you to basically grow your audience and make those moments? And I was like, this is super exciting, because now it's not just me, I'm backed by a huge company that has the resources to do that. And they're like, how can we get you with people outside of the sport? How can we let you reach audiences that are kind of harder to get for you to get into as a track athlete? They showed me actually a graph of what time the fashion world kind of is on social media, and it's completely different from the side that track sports is on social media. And I'm like, this is amazing. Like, I would have never known that, because all I have is data on my followers, who are mostly track and field fans. And if I'm just catering to them and they don't really mesh with it all that much, I'm missing a whole group of people who probably would love this stuff. It's like, okay, now I'm bringing in a whole new, group, and it's like I'm growing my status, and people are like, oh, we like you because of your fashion, and oh, we like you because you're fast, and oh, we like you because you just do cool things.
Yeah.
And just being able to be yourself while you're doing that makes it so much easier.
You had a pretty darn good indoor season, PBs in the 60, which really has pumped you up. And
Yes, sir.
how do you equate your PBs in the 60 this year with where you see your plans for outdoor season?
So I look back at last year,
Yeah.
and I consider it my greatest year ever. But that doesn't mean that I don't see room for improvement and growth. I think that's what me and my coach do very well is we can always see the glasses half full and half empty. I'm trying to be in the middle area, and what we see is, of course, the first 100 is dramatically faster than what it was previous years, and that's what helps us make such big jumps. But when we look at what we need to do to turn that into a world record, it's like, okay, you need to be 9 seconds in the first 100.
Yeah.
Makes sense. That means you need to be at least a 9.7 sprinter. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna be a 9.7 sprinter. But that was never a goal. My goal is I want to be, the world record holder in the 100 as well.
Yeah.
I'm just haven't had time to put as many eggs into that basket. Now we're naturally getting better at it. I'm finding my own place in it, and I'm seeing it in the 60. My worst part of the race. So I'm improving my worst part of the race dramatically, which will turn the 100 into such a different race for me. Now, instead of playing, running from the back all the time, I am in the pack at the 60 meters. So I'm with everybody. You're not, I don't know, 3 or 5 to 10 meters away from me. You're 1 to 2 meters away from me.
Yeah.
And then I added my best part of the race, my top end speed, my biomechanics, my form, and my power. Like now it's like, oh, you're just gonna start pulling away from people because that's what you do in the 200. So I'm now like, okay, when I come to these races, I expect to start seeing when I'm in peak shape, 9.7 or better.
How would you grade your start this indoor season?
It's broken up into different parts for me. I have the first 10 meters, and I have the second 10 meters, which would be the 20 to 30, and then 30 40. That area 10 to 20 and 20 to 30 is where I feel like I've made the greatest improvement. This is what I call the acceleration and transitions phase. I have been able to put more power into the ground with each step, and I've been able to seamlessly move into top end speed in those moments. And what I've seen is on these charts that you have going into these 60 meter races, they're putting out your 10 meter increments, and I'm seeing 10 meter increments faster than I've ever seen before. That's just like, whoa, we're doing that, and we're not even in the best part of my race.
You told me last summer that one of the things that helped you kind of reassess things, you used the term mindfulness, in that you didn't want to have any wasted steps.
Yes.
And I think it was after talking with Ralph Mann about him looking at your races and him giving some thoughts. The process of making you a better runner, a faster runner, a more efficient runner is something that you guys talk about almost every day. Is that true with Coach?
100%.
Okay.
Just like you said, wasted steps, that's something that I keep in my head every time I run. I don't want to go onto the track and have a wasted day. Now, that doesn't mean I can't have a bad day.
Yeah.
Everybody has their bad days. Sometimes you get off a plane and it's just not gonna be a great day to do high-speed training. But other times I can say, hey, I'm going to come into this practice, I'm gonna warm up correctly, I'm gonna come in earlier because I need to prep my body. So when coach says, all right, I need each one of these efforts to be 100% or 95%, I can give it to them. I consider that a very successful practice because I'm able to give my highest level, and because of that I see highest results, and my body takes that and says, oh, you want us to be up here? Okay, we're gonna adapt to be up here constantly. And then as we go through the year, it's like, oh, we've already been at this level. Now we're just in shape. We'll just keep doing it. And it just keeps faster and faster and faster and faster.
At the U.S. Indoor Champs, you had a pretty good first round. And then as you were warming up, you felt tightness in your hip?
Yeah, hip
How's that
flexor.
going?
It's better. What ended up really kind of just causing that issue was traveling and dehydration.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I did 3 races.
Yeah.
In 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So every weekend I was in a race, which is already a lot of pounding. I had almost each one of those races had rounds, which is, running at top end speed, multiple times within, less than an hour or an hour and 15 minutes of each other. That's a lot of effort, and then getting on a plane right after that. And I would only stay home for 3 days before I got on another plane.
Wow.
So it usually takes, truthfully, I'd say about 4 days to actually get all that hydration back into your body.
Sure.
So if I'm jumping on a plane after 3 days, I'm only re-dehydrating myself.
Yeah.
My muscles are kind of in an exposed state. If your muscles aren't hydrated, yes, they can still perform, but you're more susceptible to cramping, tearing. Being hydrated is something that your body desires for a reason.
Yeah.
So it gets dangerous when you get to that, 3rd week, and you're on your 8th race, and it's like, hey, we've had a great season. Do we really want to risk indoors?
Yeah.
For a potential setback in training?
Yeah.
Because after you start with a setback, you never know when you're going to be back on track.
I was writing about the European indoors this weekend, right? So I'm watching the European broadcasting, and I'm watching Marcel Jacobs in his round, and I can see what's going on. He comes out of the box, and there's a cramp in his calf, and I see him wince, and I'm going, why doesn't his coach pull him out of the final? And he runs the final, he gets a silver, and now he's talking about a hamstring issue. And in the interview, he said, look, I'm the team captain. I had a responsibility to bring medals home for Italy, so I've got to still perform. How do you juggle being, like, say you're on an Olympic team world championship, how do you juggle your responsibilities for taking care of yourself and being on a national team?
I think it's priorities.
Okay.
Coach B explains this very well. There are track meets that you risk everything for, and there are track meets that you don't.
Yeah.
The ones that you should be risking it for are Olympics, World Championships, maybe trials.
Yeah.
If this trials can get you a better position within your brand, take the shot. And you'll still, get that position of, I have made this team. Saying that you're an Olympian will get you set within your brand. But if you can't even say that you're an Olympian, and they're on their years where they're getting rid of people, they're like, well, they get to your name and it's just like, well, you didn't make it out to trials, you didn't become an Olympian, you weren't ranked in the top world. It's like, how do we justify keeping you? But you having Olympian next to your name is like, oh, this is somebody who's going to keep us, having exposure, even if they're hurt. They're always going to have the title of Olympian or world's athlete. So that's kind of how I would describe the priorities of when you need to risk it. Indoors is a hard one, though.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's with a lot of world championships involved, man. How do you juggle that? And if you've got a world champs or an Olympics, and we've got 2023, 2024, 2025, 2026.
Yeah.
We're hearing there's going to be some interesting meets that year, and then 2027, and then La La Land in 2028.
Exactly.
I want to
La
take.
La Land.
Yeah, like that?
I like that.
Tokyo Olympics. I want you to compare your 200 in Tokyo to your 200 at the World Champs.
It's very hard to compare them. in Tokyo.
Did you feel good in Tokyo?
No, I had a swollen knee.
Okay, see, that's what I didn't know. I mean, we've talked about a whole bunch of other stuff, but I haven't got to ask you about that.
Yeah.
So tell
I
me.
had a swollen knee, and my thought process was constantly on, am I going to make it out of this next race?
Okay.
But it was the Olympics.
Yeah.
So this is the race to risk it
We
on.
just talked about, yeah.
Exactly. So and we were just doing everything we could. I'm taking ice baths, acupuncture, inflammatory, taking, inflammatory just to bring down the swelling. And I can't, I physically couldn't squat. I don't even know how I got in the blocks because of the angle that I had. Must have been just right or right before I was in the squatting position to be able to take off. So truthfully, I couldn't even put enough power into the ground because I could have hurt myself.
Yeah.
But I had to mentally block all that out and say, if this is it, then this is it. This is my shot. I'm gonna go out in a blaze of glory, one way or other. A Viking mentality, and that was kind of just surviving through Tokyo is exactly how I describe what it felt like.
Then how did you feel in Eugene?
Eugene was everything that Tokyo wasn't. I had my team around me. I was getting medical treatment that I couldn't get in Tokyo because they wouldn't allow, people certified to be able to do it. I had my chiropractor, and my family was there. I'm in the United States, which I know very well. I can get the food I need. The beds are comfortable. Yeah. Well, they were for the U.S. team because we rented out a hotel. I heard that, everybody else was kind of struggling, but it was a lot more of a stable condition. So all I had to say was perform. Let's perform. And I knew that I was in good shape, and that's all I need to know. Truthfully, if I know that I'm in good shape, every time I step on the track, I'm going to, show out. Saying that I've been saying recently to, my close friends and my other track and field athletes. So Talitha is running. Talitha Diggs is running. She's like my god sister, and I would text her something. I'd be like, "Hey, go out there, have fun." I usually won't say good luck because luck is for the uninitiated, and we are both initiated. Yeah. But I will say, go out there because the moment is made for you. The moment is never too big for you because this is the moment that's made for you.
You told me in past conversations, one of the things that gives you confidence is Coach Brown, and that every once in a while when he actually smiles, you know that you're in a good place.
Yeah.
Before Eugene, was he in a pretty happy place?
Oh man, that man was dancing all over the place. That man we would it was probably the last 5 days before finals. So so you started and you're 3 days out from the first round, and all he would let me do was one start a day. That's all he'd let me do. I would fully warm up to do one start, maybe 2-3 points, and then get in the blocks, cut it, go home. What? What do you mean go home? I just fully warmed up. I'm ready to go. Go home. You're done. So I'm just building up all this adrenaline and ready to run, and I'm barely getting to tap into what I know I can do. But if you're using it now, then you're not going to have it for the race. So I just had to be okay, I just got to be patient. I just have to be patient. And he's hiding his smirks. And Keston Bloodman is now been one of our assistant coaches. And I call him my spirit animal. He's who definitely helped, one of the people who helped me get through 2021. Yeah. He was just yo, you just gotta be patient, bro. He knows you're ready. You're ready. I'm just I know I'm ready. I'm anxious, man. I'm anxious. I want to go. He's I know, man, but you got this. Just calm down. You can handle. You can handle 3 more days. I'm you're right. I can handle 3 more days.
Is that the hardest part for you when you're everything is going well and you're at the event? Because you are a high energy athlete. Yeah. And you seem to thrive on it. Do you get nervous before?
It's not nervous. It's not nerves. It's excitement. Okay. It's very hard to contain.
Yeah.
Especially since I have ADD, so my first instinct is just to be impulsively me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember the finals, warming up. The amount of energy was trying to contain was truthfully like, I'm trying to basically trying to contain an explosion in a glass box.
Yeah.
Best way I can describe that. And it leaked out. It definitely leaked out. I remember I went over, like my coach B literally had to walk with me everywhere I went, because if he didn't keep tabs on me, then I would just start yelling, jumping, bounding all over the place. It's just like, no, you just need to do the exact exercises that are in the warm up. And so we go over to the medical tent, because I was, going to do my activation exercise, and then, my music is just perfectly tuned to my warm up, and it just hit the moment where I usually would go ballistic, and I just couldn't contain anymore. And I remember jumping over a table and just sprinting off because I couldn't contain it anymore. And I was just like, all right, I just needed to get that little bit out before we continue, because I wasn't gonna make it.
The race was a work of art in my mind. You didn't do anything. You did everything well, and I love watching you accelerate coming off the turn.
Yeah,
because I would.
That's my favorite part of the race.
Are you working the turn, or do you
yeah.
let the turn? Because I've heard different philosophies with 200-meter runners. Some people work it coming off the turn. Some people let gravity do its thing. It seems to me like you're controlling, and then this is my land, man.
Yeah.
And you make a statement because you start to really move. In the world champs, you just moved. Everything was under control. Did you know how fast you had gone when you hit the finish? Did you have any idea? You knew you were fast, right?
I knew I was fast.
Okay.
That's all I knew.
Did you sense people around you, or did you sense there was a little bit of
never felt
airflow?
Anyone's presence the whole race. Wow. It was weird.
Yeah.
Because I'm coming, so you get to the first 50 meters, and I'm like, okay, this is where somebody might try to make a move on me. This is their best chance to make a move on me.
Yeah.
Okay, I hear nothing. All right, and then we get into the next, you get to the first 60, and I'm like, okay, if anybody wants to have any objections to this race, speak now or forever hold your peace.
Yeah.
I hear nothing. I can't even hear a footstep for anybody else. Wow. And I'm usually very keenly, sensorily aware of what everybody else can do without having to see them. And I'm just like, okay, this race is over. I'm just like, and the hardest part probably about that race was me having to tell myself, okay, keep pushing. Because, once you win, it's easy to just get into that, flow of like, this race is mine. I could just coast into this, or I could put in a little bit of effort, or maybe even 80 to 90% and just call it a win. But it's like, no, that wasn't what we came there to do. What we came there to do was put together the most perfect race that I have ever put together. So I mentally had to say, all right, floor it. And constantly just like more pound to the ground, more pound to the ground, more pound to the ground, like down the track. And I remember coming off that turn, and I was like, bro, I am moving. Yeah. And we were getting to the end, and I've maybe like 3 times ever felt like I couldn't finish the race. Like I could feel my form like leaving me, and that was one of them. I remember the last 5 meters, and I just feel like my back was just like doing this, and I was like, I must look so bad right now coming through this line. And what I hate is like people be like, oh, if he just would have ran through the line. I'm like, I didn't run through the line. You try running 19.3 and having energy to run through the rest of that race. Like, I'm slowing down because I ran out of top speed. One of my favorite bragging points is I can hold my top speed for very long.
Yeah.
I ran out of top speed. That's wow. There's nowhere to go but back down.
Michael Johnson responded to. Did you get to talk to Michael?
Yeah.
How was it? Was it cool?
It was a cool moment. It was a small little cool moment. He came down and he congratulated me. He's like, of course I've watched your, career, over the years, and he's like, if anybody was to break my record, I'm really glad it was you.
That's cool.
And it was funny. I was listening to a podcast that he did probably about a month ago, and where he was kind of talking about politics, but he was talking about hearing people's records go down, his records go down, because almost every one of his record was a world record, and now they're American records, and now they're starting to. He basically only has one American record left, and it's like there are some people that just don't feel good with them breaking it, and I can understand that. It's sort of people that you don't want them to have it, get it, and you might feel away, but it also feels good when you break someone's record and they're like, I'm really glad that you were the one to break it.
Yeah, he did a nice social thing, I thought, afterwards. I mean, I've known Michael forever, and I used to hang out with him and Clyde, and in Sevilla, he could have broken the world record in the semis and the 400. He jogged the last 100.
I know.
It was a 43.97,
Yeah.
and I had never seen anything like that. And I go over to Coach Hart afterwards and say, "Oh, he's breaking it, isn't he?"
Yeah.
Yeah. And that.
This is it, right? It's like
this
this is it. This is the moment. It's like,
no, it is always so much fun talking with you, and we can go for 2 hours, and I know you've got other things to do today. But thank you again for taking the time. This is Larry Eater with RunBlogRun with Noah Lyles, 3-time world champion, and we're going to see him do some special things in Budapest in 2023.